Hey everybody. We are looking at another Leatherman. Just because I'm all about Leatherman multi-tools now. I've done a couple knife reviews, but not a lot of them. I've been playing with these things and frankly they are awesome. Hopefully we got our camera aimed right so that I'm not holding the knife and going, yeah, you see this knife is really good up here, and you look at my wrist. I had an older video I didn't catch that on, so I'm trying to be more mindful and make sure we're more in focus and things like that. So I'm still looking for that sweet spot. No, I have been very, very happy with this Leatherman Arc. This thing is fidget friendly. Everything is one hand deployed. It is, kind of breaking in nicely. When you do want to open it one-handed, you got to pinch it in such a way to get the magnets to separate, and then you just click, and then you pop one, and then give it a good snap. And this thing's been great. Having a Magna Cut blade is really nice. Having all the tools on the outside, having a bit driver, it's a really good set of tools. And then you've got, your Wingman, which if you don't want to spend $230 plus shipping and you want to spend $65, $68, you got the Wingman here, which is spring loaded and it is really nice. It's got all the basic tools covered. Most of the tools are on the inside, but they pop out and deploy easily. You've got, you can go watch my video on that, but you got all your basics covered here. I like this little next tool. I just wish it was bigger. It's such a tiny little one, but it's actually really well made. It's super light, and if you want something that's just keychain size, but if you had a small nut or something you needed a grip and you just needed, like literally just the basics, and that you've got a little screwdriver, you got a little flathead, you've got a little pair of scissors over here somewhere that you can pop out, and you've got just a little penknife. This really is a light duty. This is going to take the place of like a small Swiss Army knife, non-locking blade, stuff like that. You have what I consider in most ways to be the best, slim but fully featured, fairly heavy, somewhat heavy duty multi-tool out there, the Victorinox Spirit X, except for, and this is I'll say my issue, but I don't like the way these things deploy. There's nothing on here that's one-handed, and these things are so hard to get in and out, even with me puking all kinds of oil in there overnight and getting down in there, trying to work these things. This is an absolute nail breaker. As I'm trying to work this thing in, I have ripped off both of my thumbnails. I don't have thumbnails anymore because of this. And once your thumbnail's gone, because you're literally ripping it and tearing it out of the, apart from the pain and discomfort, there's not enough left to actually get a bite on some of these tools. The ones that are recessed against those tight springs, trying to get the blade out and stuff, is a pain in the ass. If you needed to deploy this in a hurry, I felt some that are weaker, but mine, the springs on this are just ridiculously strong. And you literally go and rip your nail off, and they're like, okay, well, maybe next week when my nail grows back, I'll be able to get the damn scissors out, which is a shame. This thing is awesome other than that. So right now, the Arc, if you want to spend, big money, this has been the best. If you want to spend less money but still get an American-made Leatherman, I like the Wingman. This thing is great too. But if you want to go discreet, the reason I tried the next tool, little mini one, was because I wanted something that was really small in the pocket and discreet. This one's a little too small. I mean, when you're trying to use it, look at the size of my hands. That corner kind of pushes in, and you get minimal leverage because it's not very long, and the teeth are, they're not going to be the blades here, the jaws of the pliers aren't that big and strong. But, in a pinch, you can use it. It'd be great to have something a little bit bigger. So one of the things that had been recommended was this. This is the Skeletool from Leatherman, and it's their CX model. So this one has a 154 cm blade, and this takes it down to the minimums. Now, I am giving up a bunch of weight. This, I think, weighs around like 5 ounces instead of 7 to 8. It is noticeably lighter. It is noticeably smaller and thinner, and it comes with a pocket clip. And on something that's this light, I might use that. It doesn't add a lot of bulk or width to it because it is fairly skinny, but I may take it off just to make it smaller still. but you do give up a bunch of tools. But as I'm using these, I started thinking about them like, this is great because I got pliers and I got a bit driver and I've got a knife and then I've got a saw and I've got a file. But I'm like, well, what do I use the most? If I think I'm going to need something, if I'm out actually doing work somewhere, then I'm taking the one that has all of it. But what about for most days? If I'm going to the office or doing something or just farting around the house or my home office, well, I'm most often using a blade. I am occasionally using a pair of pliers or a screwdriver. And so having a bit driver, and we'll go through the tools on this. This is brand new, just took it out of the box. As a result, it is quite stiff. It's not like this one was where it was like automatically open and loose. This is built on their free technology, so it's made to be one-handed opening. This one has one-handed opening on the blade, and that's about it. It's got a minimal tool set. They say 7+1. I do like that it has upgraded blade steel. It is 154 cm. Not as good as the Magna Cut, but perfect. I mean, 154 is a good pocket knife steel. Holds an edge really well. This edge looks pretty good. It is very sharp. Edge seems straight. I'll strap it later. Does lock into place with a basic liner lock. And what's nice is that while the engagement is over pretty far, this piece right here is big enough that it's covering part of the, so there's no way for it to over travel and go past, unless you really just mashed it and bent it, and So for any kind of normal, non-stupid use, I'll say, it can't over travel. That lock will be perfectly fine if I had to stab it into something. It does need to loosen up. Unlike this one that's all nice and loosey-goosey from the factory, this one at a third of the price, these are around $79 for the C, or maybe this one was like $85, and it was the regular model that uses 420 HC steel, which is, it's okay. But 154 cm is a big step up. This needs to loosen up. It's on phosphor bronze washers. I have oiled it, but the blade is sticky, and that's going to need to break in. That's something that some Leathermans, you have to spend a little time opening, closing, and over time it's going to open up just enough. I almost would rather have it be a bit tight, and then it loosens up to where it needs to be, than some of the Chinese ones that were kind of like really loose from the beginning. You having to tighten up, or they might get too loose. As long as they've got pivots that can be adjusted, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you get one that's riveted together, and that's kind of the problem with this one, I think that this one probably needs these pivots loosened a little bit. Maybe the guy got a little exuberant with the hydraulic press when he mashed those rivets down. And maybe that's why this thing is so, and I'm sitting here a lot, opening, closing, and it's still gritty. No matter how much oil I put down in there, it's still so much friction. Eventually, this might get usable, but I'm carrying the Leathermans. And God, wow, going from one to the other, the weight difference is staggering. It's a huge difference. A lot less tools, though. So what do you really get? Well, you've got American made, you've got Leatherman. It's a cool skeletonized. You got a carabiner here, so you can clip this on your belt loop or on a backpack or anywhere you need just to kind of keep it somewhere. If you had a vest on or whatever, like a tactical vest or plate carrier, and clip it on there. This also serves as a really nice bottle opener. Bottle goes up in there, and when it pops it, this spring-loaded catches against the bottle opener, against the cap, and holds it. Kind of cool. We talked about your blade. That is one-handed opening, and once this loosens up, it'll open a one-hand close easier. You have a decent set of pliers that are going to be a step down, even comparing to the smaller, which one was this? The Wingman, it's still noticeably smaller. These are, medium duty. These are going to be light duty, but they're still better than what you would get on a Swiss Army knife. I mean, that's a proper, decent size piece of metal here. Again, it is tight. These will loosen up over time. This one was pretty good, brand new. This one was really good, brand new. This one was amazing, brand new. Some of the Leathermans are going to take time. These are hydraulically pressed together. I have oiled it, but they're going to need to metal on metal, going back and forth a couple hundred times. That will hone those edges and round off any burrs and machining marks, smooth them out, and they'll basically polish against each other. And I have no doubt that in a month or two of use, this is going to be a nice, well-oiled, really smooth working. The blades for the cutters are not replaceable. So it is what it is. If you break one, you're gonna have to buy a new tool. You do have a bit driver. It does have a lock so the bits don't just fall out. And what it comes with out of the box are, I think it's a P1 and a P2. So you have a fine Phillips and then a flatter, fatter one. Now, somewhere, where is it? Oh, yeah, almost missed it there. There is a second bit, hides in the handle. So then you've got a small and a slightly larger flathead screwdriver. And you can swap this one out and pop this one in, and then pop that one in here. Now, I've seen other people make other kinds of tools. If you have other Leathermans, it will take those bits. So if you've got all your Torx bits and different things like that, you can do that. What I'm going to do is order one that's going to have, instead of having two Phillips, one Phillip on each end, and then to get your common, you got to use the second bit for that. I'm going to get one, or maybe even take one out of one of my other Leatherman kits. I'm going to take one that has Phillips on one side and flat on the other, and then that frees up. That way I've got both in one, and then I can go and use my spare tool that hides here in the handle. I can go get something different, like a Torx bit or a security bit or something like that. I don't necessarily need both. I don't need two flatheads and two Phillips. I'd rather have one good Phillips with a flathead combo and then something completely different. Maybe a common hex size or, something like that. So I'm gonna look around and see what other tools. I know there's a couple companies that make different tools. So not an expansive toolkit. I mean, you got bits, and if you have extra bits, you can certainly pop those in and use them. You got your carabiner and you got a bottle opener, but no can opener. You got a blade and a decent set of pliers. So it is definitely a minimal set of tools. But when you look at what tools people most commonly use, you got different things for different purposes. If you're going to go to the office that day and you just want something small, light, and discreet, you're in dress slacks and you don't want a big bulge in your pocket, giggity. That's maybe when you go for a wingman or one of these little tools. Then there's times, I'm out on the bike. Maybe I got to do a roadside repair. Well, that's when I'm going to want the file. If I'm out camping or doing something like that, maybe in the yard trimming some branches or something, maybe that's when I'm going to want the damn wood saw. You've also got bit drivers here. You got your blade, and you got a really nice pair of scissors, cutters, and pliers. So there's different things. There's no one size fits all. Most of the time I can carry this, but there's times when I want something smaller, but this is really kind of too small, other than I had to go really, really incognito, and I really didn't want to draw attention to myself, but I wanted a basic tool set that had a couple things, because frankly, this gives you a knife and other tools that are comparable to like the smaller Swiss Army knives. But unlike the small Swiss Army knives, even the larger Swiss Army knives, not the multi-tools, you're not getting a pair of pliers that big. So this is, if you really want to go discreet, get one of these things, dude. They're $22. Perfect. But for the medium size, where this is just a little big and heavy for some folks, and they want something a bit more, instead of the 8.6 ounce, you want 5.6, you're cutting a quarter pound off. And it's thinner, especially if you get rid of that clip. And it's, same height, but it's narrower, it's thinner, and it's much lighter. And for the tools you use most often, which are going to be, in my case, knife, pliers, and screwdrivers with your bit driver, well, I've got those bases covered. If I think I'm going to need more, heavy duty pliers and a saw and metal files and a diamond file and tiny screwdrivers and can openers and a pry bar, obviously I'm going to go for the big one where I'll have all my bases covered. But I like this a lot. I think this will make a great EDC. It is really stiff. I'm going to go ahead and play with the pivots and see if I loosen it up. The point is the goal there is to loosen it up just enough that you get nice smooth action without binding and grinding and metal and all that kind of stuff, but not so much that you introduce blade wobble. Because I will tell you one thing, while this thing is stiff, there is no freaking wobble in that. This thing is solid as a freaking rock, which is nice when you're using the blade because you don't feel the handle moving and squirming around in your grip. Like, that thing is solid. So that'll make a really good cutting experience. Ergonomically, really, really nice. The way there's no hot spots, it kind of forms and your fingers just kind of wrap right around it. When you close the blade and you open up and you're using the pliers, this kind of follows the arc of your hand here. This follows that way. Here it would feel awkward, so you're definitely going to use it like that. But you get a nice purchase on it with no real hot spots. When you want to open it up and use the screwdriver, there you go. You got the screwdriver. You can do that. You can turn it at an angle and get a little more torque on it if you want. It's a really nice little tool. You know, if you get the red one, there's the RX, but then that has like a more of a seat belt cutter, more of a serrated first responder type blade. If you get the regular one that has the lower end steel, then you get a variety of colors. I do kind of wish that this CX one with the upgraded steel, you pay an extra $10 for the nicer steel and to not have a half serrated blade. I don't mind serrations. I'd rather have a fully serrated blade and a regular blade. I don't like them in both because you end up not getting really enough of either because the blades are too small. But that is a nice little tool. If you just need a knife, pliers, and a basic bits for screwdrivers and just, you know, basic shit around the house, and you got a carabiner and pop a top of beer, it's perfect. I like that. That's going to make a nice welcome addition. Kind of sits in between, you know, it's a little more expensive than the Wingman, but not much. But way cheaper than that, even way cheaper than that. This is $150, this is $230. So it's going to sit price-wise, you know, this is going to be way out here at the extreme. This one's going to be just more expensive than that. This one's going to sit here, and that one's going to sit like that. But from a size perspective, if you just need basic tools, man, I think you could do really well with these. Just be prepared. You're going to have to sit here and oil it and use it a bit to get it all lightened up, knock the burrs off, get those metal edges that are rubbing on each other to kind of polish each other in and smooth each other out. I think once you've done that, like most Leathermans, you know, once they're broken in, they're like a perfectly fitting glove. You know, they're really nice. They're really smooth. I think you'll like this a lot. I'm digging it. I'm going to carry it. I'll alternate one day with the big boy and one day with this and see what I think. But what else is there to say? It's a Leatherman. It's US made. You got a 25-year warranty. You can get replacement bits and some parts and stuff like that. If you lose them or whatever, you can steal the parts. If you've got other Leathermans and they came with these things, you can steal parts from those. They all work. Pretty cool. Nothing here not to like, other than I wish I could have gotten it in a different color other than black. I think it looked nice in green and blue and reds and some of the others. But apart from that, it's a pretty nice tool. Make a good addition to anyone's collection. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.